Hello everyone, it's Jama Malmy, and I can't believe we are already at day 29 of the 31 Days of Christmas cards. Here's a look at what we're creating today, and we are using the layered floral background dies, which I am obsessed with because they make it so easy to make really stunning cards. So I'm going to show you how they work, and then we're going to create 4 different cards with these all layered up. Now, what I've decided to do was 2 layers, the top and bottom layer in white, and then the middle layer in glitter paper. And I use different colors of glitter paper for each card. And I'm showing you here that you can put whatever background you want. This would be right on top of the card base, so you could use just white, have the card base shine through, or use a patterned paper. You can also use different elements of these background dies, so maybe take out the middle die or take out the bottom die and just use 2 of them or even 1 of them. There's lots of options, but if you use all 3 together, it really creates some effortless dimension and looks really pretty. So just showing you some options here of how that looks. Now here I wanted to show you there are some small pieces of this die that may not pop right out when you take it out of your die cut machine, but I like to just poke those with my piercing tool and they come out super easy, and there you go. So now we're going to put this together, and I've decided to use that holly paper as my background, and I like to use tape runner on these when I can. So this bottom layer has more space for the tape runner to go, so I usually use just the tape runner on this. And I've strategically chosen that base page so that a few of those little berries will pop through the holes. So it's green with some pops of red. Now on this second layer, I can use a little bit of my tape runner in some of those larger areas, and then I pull in my Tombow glue and go around the edge and put some dots here and there. So I'm showing you here kind of how I do that and where I place the liquid glue going around. I like this Tombow glue. I find that it works really well. You can use any liquid adhesive that you have, liquid glass, or anything else that you might have. And then I will turn this over and put that down on the next layer. So it didn't take too long. I have this sped up, but it really doesn't take long. The longest that it takes to adhere glue is on this top layer because you have to use all liquid glue. The tape runner doesn't really fit very well unless you use a dotted tape adhesive. And I used some recycled cardstock for this that I had a photo printed on the other side that I never used. So, put those pieces of cardstock to use when you can use the other side. So this side, I just put dots all over the back, and it really didn't take too long, but this liquid adhesive does stick well to the glitter paper. So you do have to make sure you use something that will adhere to the glitter paper, and the liquid adhesive will work well. Either the Tombow or the liquid glass will adhere well to glitter paper. And see how easy that was to make a stunning card base? You can just really keep it simple and keep it like this and maybe put a sentiment on it, and that's all you need. But I'm going to show you how to add some various embellishments on these cards. So I'm just showing you a quick look at the other ones that I cut out. I did them all with glitter paper in the middle sandwiched between white, and then I'm just looking at the different options for the background, which is going to be your card base, and showing you what it looks like with 2 layers or 1 layer. This one I did Bluebell, and I'm showing you the light side of the Bluebell cardstock and the dark side. I tried the Jingle Joy paper on this one. I thought it looked really cool. I ended up not using it. I almost did. And then there's holographic paper you can use. It looks really cool shining through there. I didn't want to have so much bling going on though, since I already have glitter paper. I decided to go with raspberry, and I used the light side of the raspberry for that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making more cards like this though, so I'll put those other backgrounds to good use. So for this one, I'm decorating it with the poinsettias from the Comfort and Joy Scrapbooking set, which has coordinating stamps and thin cuts. I'm just using the thin cuts for the poinsettias, and I'm using this tool, the stylus, to make realistic veins in it. And that's a tip that I learned from my friends Andrea and Carrie in this collaboration. And then I wanted some greenery sticking out, so I cut these sprigs from the Comfort and Joy Cricut collection. and I'm putting a little bit of ink on them to cover up that white that shows after cutting it with the Cricut, and to kind of give them a little bit more depth and dimension. And then I'm going to cut them apart into 3 separate sprigs, and you're not going to be able to tell that it was all one cut. So then I will have them sticking out the sides of that poinsettia. By the way, I decided to put that poinsettia in the center of this card because the background already had the flowers kind of lined up in the center. Normally I like things off center and I would put it up a little bit higher than center, but I lined it up with the flowers on the background in this case. And notice the flower center is that gold glitter dot. That is one of the leftover pieces from cutting out that glitter paper in the die. And make sure you save all of those pieces because I'm going to show you 2 bonus cards after these cards are finished on how to use those leftover little glitter inner pieces. Here's a look at all that glittery shine that's in this card. I added a very small sentiment to the center of that poinsettia and called it done. Now for this card, I am going to offset my little embellishment a little bit. I'm putting it lower and off to the right, and I thought that this worked well with the snowflake. So I'm wrapping some silver embellishing thread around the card base. I did 5 times around. I started with 3 and I thought it wasn't quite substantial enough for how substantial that card base is. So I thought it needed a couple more layers since this thread is so delicate on its own. So I'm using my bone folder to get those creases out of the thread, and then I'm going to put a glue dot over one of the dots on the background, and that's what I'm going to stick this thread to, and it works nicely. So I'm going to wrap it around 5 times, and then I will adhere the other end of the thread back on that glue dot as well. Remember, this is not glued to the card base yet, so you're not going to see the back of this thread. Then I layered 2 Cricut cut snowflakes onto there. I did one on glitter paper and one on the white pearl paper, which adds a real nice subtle shine to this. I'm adhering those both with glue dots, even though you're going to see it through that top one. I'm going to cover that with a little gem so you'll never know. And there is that finished card. The sentiment for this one is on the inside. I decided not to add one to the outside. Now for this card, I wanted to keep it monochromatic as well, and so I used the light side of the raspberry to cut a heart. Actually, all of these pieces that I'm putting on here are cuts that I had left over in a bowl that I toss all of my die cut and Cricut cuts into that I don't use. So I had those hearts and the vellum heart that's stitched, and I layered those with thin 3D foam tape, added another little sentiment in the middle, and called that done. And for this final card, I used another vellum heart that I cut with my stitched heart die, and I had these letters, love, left over from one of my previous cards in this series you may recognize. And I'm going to carefully glue that just behind the letters to adhere it onto the card base. And we're going to call that done. Now I love that this could be a Christmas or a Valentine's card. The last 2 cards could go either way. The sentiments that I put on the inside have Christmas sentiments though. All right, so here are the bonus cards. I'm using all of those cuts that I had left over from cutting out the glitter cardstock, and see how this die kind of has that snowflake shape in it. So this is the middle die that I cut the glitter out of, and when I try to layer the glitter in there, it doesn't fit because those pieces are the same size as the die, actually a tiny bit bigger. So I'm using the top layer of the die, and this way I can line everything up just right. So I'm taking my glue and I'm putting it on right in with the die laying there. And so we've got all those little dots of glue, and I didn't know if I wanted to use the circles as well, so I layered these all up first, and I put the piece lined up in the middle of the die so that I knew that they would all line up perfectly. So I made sure they were lined up in the center of each of those holes and just stuck them down. It was super, super easy. And then when I lifted it up, I really was liking the result, but I thought it needed a little more. So that's when I knew that I needed those circle pieces as well. And remember, we used one of those other circles as the center of our poinsettia. So we're using several more here. And then I wiped off the glue in the very center and decided to use a gold glitter rhinestones. I also added some bitty sparkles and tied some more silver embellishing thread around the bottom of that card. For the last card example, I'm using some of the red petal pieces, and I'm also going to add some of those gold flower centers again. So we've got two different colors. We still have tons of colors in the silver and the bluebell, and more of the other colors left over as well. So you can do so much more with these leftovers. But I'm going to put them around in a visual triangle on this white pearl paper, and then I'm going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive to adhere each of the petals and pieces down. I put it under an acrylic block to dry, and then I'm cutting off just 1/8 of an inch around the card base because I want to mount this onto some gold foil paper to show around as a border and really tie in that gold and add that regal Christmassy look to this card. So as you can see, I cut out the center of that gold foil paper so we're not wasting anything, and I'm going to mount this right on top. And then I'm going to add a little sentiment also backed in gold foil paper and call this done. So here's a close-up look at those 2 bonus cards we just made, and another look at those 4 cards we made earlier with the layered floral background dies. Aren't they so fun? I can't believe this is my last video of this series and that we're coming to a close. This has been so much fun, but there's still 2 more videos coming up from ERIN and Lisa the next 2 days, so be sure to watch for those. And I'm sure that all of us are going to be posting more Christmas card videos and other Christmas themed videos in the coming weeks, so be sure to look for those and subscribe to all of our channels. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.